Now, without a doubt, every single one of us wants to know what to expect from Season 2 in terms of content, what we can expect from the bosses. The developers of Dragonheir Silent Gods actually mentioned that the bosses will get upgraded skills, and I feel like it's very important to be able to set the tones for the start of Season 2, to know how to strategize everything to have the best possible start. And that's exactly what you're going to find out in today's video. What to expect from the new bosses. We're gonna go and check every single one of the dungeon bosses that will be coming in Season 2. I am currently on an account that has access to Season 2 content. This is a test server. Big shout out to Newverse for organizing these test servers for us. And let's actually start with the very first dungeon, the Grave of Venom. But before we move over to showcase the first dungeon, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel. We are dropping daily guides on Dragonheir Silent Gods, promo codes, news, everything that you need to know about the game, guys. So make sure you are turning on all notifications to stay tuned and up to date with every single video that we are releasing. Grave of Venom. This will be probably the most farmed dungeon for every single one of us. You guys know the drill. This drops gear for our damage dealers, so we're gonna have to be more picky with the gear. We want crit rate, attack, crit damage, we want perfect rolls, and it's pretty hard to get them. So we're gonna farm this dungeon quite a bit. Now, I've already done quite a few runs on this dungeon, just to kind of like test a few champions, and I can tell you, it changed quite a bit. And if you guys remember the video where I showcased you for Season 1 a strategy where you're positioning your champions in a specific way and you block the AoE damage and bang, you make this dungeon super easy. Well, that's not really going to work anymore as it used to. I mean, partially it might work. So let's actually have a quick look at the skills. And the surprise, guys, is that this dungeon before had 2 Flame of Element orbs. Now it has 4. So it's much, much harder than it used to be. So for example, let's start with the skills quickly. This is a new skill, a full AoE covering the entire map. So deals damage to all enemies and dispels 1 debuff from all allies. The boss's allies being the side orbs, okay? And yes, you're gonna get damaged with all your team. You will need healing for all your team now. Then this skill is still the same. It's still the same AoE that we were blocking before with a cheeky move. We're still gonna be able to block this. So I feel like I'm gonna have to look into new sort of strategies where we are blocking this and we're getting healing from the other ones. And the next thing that you need to keep in mind with this boss is that you need 2 tanks, man. This is not going to work with 1 tank anymore. So this skill selects an enemy with the highest max HP. Now, before, the side orbs used to attack the enemy with the lowest HP. One of the side orbs only. The other one used to put a defense down. And that was pretty easy to control. Now it's completely different because the boss will attack 3 times and the minions will attack with the boss, okay? They will assist in the strike. So you need another tank to help and mitigate the damage, because the other skills will focus your other tank. I'm gonna show you how to position your champions. We're not gonna do any runs today, guys, because I'm waiting for this content to come on the actual server, and I'm gonna have the champions at level 50, level 20, level 30. They're gonna have the gray gear. I wanna show you that. I don't wanna show you champions at level 100 with legendary gear because it's pointless, okay? So that's why I'm not doing runs, in case if you're curious. So the reason why I'm saying that you need 2 tanks is because the next hit, the Deadly Harpies attack, have a 90% chance of triggering the assistance of Flame of Element. Before was only 60% if I'm not mistaken. And this will actually attack the same target. So one of the tanks, the one with highest HP, which will be positioned behind the initial tank, will tank this hit. The other tank will tank the regular hits plus this hit. Now, the more debuffs you have on the side minions, the less chance for the side minions is to join in the attack and attack your tank, basically, you know? So, for example, let's just say we are bringing 2 tanks into the fight. One is Furbart, right? Then let's just quickly... I'm not going to do elemental affinity combos right now, guys. I'm just showing you 2 tanks, basically, okay? And, my god, having all these legendaries, it does look nice. We have Horus as well, okay? So, these are our 2 tanks. One of them will get all the attacks, okay? And that will move in front to the boss. And the boss will attack with all the skills, including this one that has a 90% chance to get all the orbs to attack. Then the second tank right here is going to be the one with the highest HP. The boss will attack that tank with this skill and the harpies. So that tank will take a lot of damage. It's very important to be able to soak in a lot of damage at the same time. Then we're going to have two damage dealers, right? Let's just say we're going to have Dane because he's great, AoE, and he's going to put debuffs on all of the enemies. Then we're going to use another one that puts debuffs just because the more debuffs we have on, the better. So let's just say you can go in with a Sigrid. Now, of course, this is not going to be great because we don't have a 5-man elemental affinity like this. But the good part is that for the beginning, you actually don't need that, okay? For the beginning, you don't need that, so you don't have to worry about it whatsoever. Frerbart is going to put debuffs as well, which will be helpful. Horus is going to put debuffs as well, which will be helpful. But the next thing is, we need healing, man. We're going to need more healing. The tanks, let's just say they can heal each other, especially with Frerbart there. But we're going to need Hexandra to heal my tanks. Now you do have the option to put all your team together, okay? And like this is fine. You still want to make sure your tank is getting targeted by everybody else, you know? If you're doing this, things change a bit, you see, because the side orbs will target the other champions, you see? You see what I'm talking about? So that's going to be an issue. So Frerbart won't really be able to heal your other champions. Even if you do it like this one is going to go here, Frerbart is going to go here, so he might heal like that, actually. So let's just say Horus is going to take the initial damage. Frerbart will be the highest HP. Then this will work better like this. And slowly we're wiping off the boss. This is one strategy. Then you can, of course, hide your other champions behind and soak in the second AoE damage only on your tanks, okay? So that will be actually pretty important. You can probably find a different positioning for them. I gotta try it out to see when he's using the AoE and stuff, and I'm gonna show you that. But how I mentioned, when this is in game, I'll be doing guides on the content, guys. I'll try to do it as soon as possible, and we're gonna see how it will play out. But I'm pretty positive we're gonna have some nice and easy strategies to do it. But I feel like either two tanks, either you bring in 3 damage dealers, and you have your healer as a tank. But I'm not sure if the healer, even with tanky gear, will be able to survive all the hits that they will get and then heal your entire team enough. You know, I feel like you actually need 2 tanks in here. So that's the first dungeon that opens, and this will be the most popular dungeon out of all. The second dungeon that will open, guys, is going to be the Grave of Curse. Now, I can't remember all of the skills from the top of my head, of course, so I'm going to have to quickly check them on the phone from the actual server. So let me just quickly go to the same dungeon, be able to click on the skills there. I really don't think that many things changed here. I feel like my old strategy that I was running is going to be perfect for this before, because I wasn't running a team with shield, you know. So the Grave of Venom, and let's check the info. Do we have the same amount of skills? We do have the exact same amount of skills. This first skill here basically buffs the boss with attack up and damage up. So this can be blocked by using a champion with block buffs, or by having a champion that removes buffs. Either one of them, honestly. Either one of them is going to work in here. Then the second skill dispels shields from the current enemy and deals necrotic damage. Initially, this was not dispelling the shield, okay? So now, if you have a tank, he will dispel the shield from the tank. But it's only from one enemy. So you can still use an Adolphus to tank the rest of your team, for example. And it's still going to work as it used to work before. The only thing is that when he's actually using the AoE skill now, he will deal a bit more damage on your tank. This skill, for example, it covers the entire area as before, and it deals necrotic damage to all enemies and gains the shield equal to 240% of the damage dealt for 20 seconds. That was before. Now, deals necrotic damage to all enemies, converting 80% of the damage dealt to a shield of equal value for 20 seconds. So this actually got reduced. because before it used to be 240%, now it's only 80%. But maybe he hits harder. Who knows? When the hero has a buff, this spell ignores the enemy's immortality and invincibility. So this sounds scary a bit, because do we really need invincibility and immortality against this boss? Like, he wasn't hitting that hard before, you know? Having defense up, damage reduction is great because that will minimize his shield, you know? Nothing really changed except that on this boss, from what I'm aware. Yeah, it's still the same. Still the same. So basically, if you will have a tank, let's just say Furbar the tank, when Adolphus will put a shield, for example, on him, I'm still going after the same kind of like elemental affinity combos in here, even though they're not going to be connected, you know. Let's just say, let's just go right. Let's just go right so I'm not confusing people. If you're using Nathaniel, okay, he's going to shield your team. This is the elemental affinity. Is lightning and poison, okay? So if you're using Nathaniel to shield your team, the boss will attack one of the champions, which is the tank, and it will dispel the shield from him. Then we have the rest of the team, which will be whatever random champions. You still want to have a decreased attack champion. You want to have somebody that will remove buffs from the enemy, and that's no one else but Grover. Flashes to an enemy and launches 2 attacks, each dealing lightning damage and stealing a random buff. Now the only problem is this only steals a random buff. You need somebody that can actually remove 2 of the buffs at least, because that's how many the boss will get, you know? Attack up and block damage. Or of course you can use block buffs by using a different champion. You have the shield, you have the decreased attack. Ihuikatel is nice too because she brings you defense up. Let's just say you have that as well. So the boss doesn't really do that much damage now. It sounds scary a bit with that because I'm curious, why is it doing that much? You know, like what's the whole thing? What to expect from him? You know, and there we go, another damage dealer in here, and slowly we are dealing with this. Of course, you can bring poison ones if you want, not a problem. And there you go, even more decreased attack. So that can be a pretty decent example of a team that will work more than perfectly in here, you know? You have decreased attack, defense up, shield, and you have damage. But I really think that you don't need a defense up in as well, and you can go in with 2 damage dealers, you know? And bang, you got this dungeon down. Let's move over to the next one and see what we can expect from that one. And the next dungeon that will open, guys, is going to be the Grave of Wrath, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's the Heretical Ruins. I can't really remember if it's the... It might be the Heretical Ruins and the Grave of Wrath after. So let's just go to the Heretical Ruins first. Just in case. So right here, we had a Phoenix with the 2 eggs that were transforming into a Phoenix. Now again, this didn't really had anything too crazy. Heal reduction was pretty helpful in here. I'm just quickly trying to head over to this dungeon as well on my actual account, where I can see what changed in terms of skills. So let's go in and see if anything actually changed. Probably it did not. And there we go. So we still have the same sort of look for the moment. And when we're talking about skills, seems like we gained a skill here. We definitely gained a skill. Very curious to know which skill. Probably this one by the looks of it. So, the initial skill throws fireballs at the current enemy and splashes on all enemies inflicted with burn. That was pretty much the exact same thing, nothing changed there. Then the second skill deals fire damage to all enemies and induces the rebirth of all Phoenix eggs. If at least 1 Phoenix egg is reborn, Undispellable is gained invisibility. Undispellable is gained invisibility. What do you mean? Undispellable. So they're gaining undispellable invisibility. I think they just messed up the wording. It was a bit confusing. I was like, what? So before was something like this. Induces the hatching of all Phoenix eggs. If at least 1 dead Phoenix nestling is reborn, that Phoenix gains invisibility. So now you cannot remove the invisibility, basically. Then this skill right here deals fire damage to all enemies, inflicting 2 stacks of burn. And this was exactly the same as it was before. And the new skill, which we didn't had, for every dead phoenix nestling on the field, takes 40% less damage. Whenever a dead phoenix nestling dies, takes damage equal to 15% of its max HP. So you want to nuke the eggs, the nestling phoenixes as often as possible, because that drops 15% of the max HP on the boss, you know, which is gonna be nice. So it's a pretty interesting change of mechanics with the new skill. I feel like it's still going to be pretty much the same cup of tea. I would still go as I used to go before and Frontbar the MVP if we have a chest. If we have the 99 cents chest again, and you guys don't pick Frontbar, especially the ones that don't have Frontbar, and you don't pick him, I will hunt you down, because you will need him, okay? You will need him, and you will regret that you're not picking this bad boy, okay? Let's just put it out there. We don't really have many new awesome support epic champions. Nothing really got added to the game that's amazing as a support champion. So we can still go in like this. We can still go in like this with Hexandra, and then we just need more damage. And you want to kill them as fast as possible, and you want to have AoE damage. Now let's just say we already have a decent enabler for this, which is of course Frontbar, but we want to have another enabler. Before I used to run Sigrid a lot with Dane, but this season she'll be running a lot with my Lolita, okay? They'll be running together quite a bit, and you can bring in another damage dealer. It doesn't need to be AoE. It doesn't need to be long ranged. It can be Shagrel, for example. And Shagrel will melt the orbs, guys. Or, of course, if you get one of the new Thunderbolt fancy epic champions, it's nice. Or you can bring in, of course, Irina. Even more decreased attack, even more AoE damage. And this bang just made your team for the dungeon, guys. That's pretty much it. I'm showing you the most common champions. We are getting poison champions. Some of the best rare champions in the game are poison or lightning, or yeah, poison or lightning. That's kind of it. We do have a few others that are pretty good, but these two elements have the best rares in my opinion. Then if we're gonna move over to the Grave of Wrath, this as well, I'm pretty convinced that it changed a bit as well, and it will be a bit more difficult. But let me just quickly make sure I'm teleporting on my main account there to check all the skills word by word. It's pretty hard to remember them from the top of my head, guys. So apologies if you get disturbed by this. So we are here, and let's go in to see if anything changed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 skills. I have a feeling that this boss gained another skill as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we gain no new skills in here. But the first skill deals poison damage to all enemies, inflicting healing prohibition and poison for 30 seconds. This is exactly the same. The second skill seems to be different. So before, this was just putting a recharge speed penalty for 10 seconds on all our team. It had the same range. Centers on the current enemy and deals poison damage to enemies within range, inflicting recharge speed penalty on them. This damage is shared between all enemies within range. So I feel like we can block this AoE by positioning our champions better, so the recharge speed penalty will only really go on the tank, okay? So this will be a strategy viable for this, because we can block with the positioning, with the cornering, and depending on how we're putting our tank, okay? So that will be very, very important for this. Then we have this skill, which is pretty much the same. Nothing really seems to be changing in here. Is identical as it was. Devours the current target, chews them for 4 seconds, deals damage, and it recovers HP. And then this skill right here deals damage to the enemy while reducing their max HP, equal to 3% of this damage. When dealing damage, the damage increases by 5 for each debuff the target is inflicted with. When taking damage, there's a 100% chance of inflicting a stack of poison on the attacker. So this skill completely changed, guys, except the part with the poison. We had a 50% chance to land the poison before when on the attacker. Cleansers are still going to be very, very important here, and the more debuffs on the target, the more damage you're getting. So you want to cleanse, you want to have A shield is key in here too. I used to run Adolphus for the shield here, and I feel like if we're going Necrosis Fire against this boss, it's not going to work very, very good for us because we're gonna lack the big healing in here. Yes, Megan can heal us quite a bit. We're not really gonna have a cleansers to get the job done unless you have the legendary ones, you know, so it's not really gonna work that great. But yes, we do have, of course, Tia, which will be pretty interesting in here because of the immunity, you know. And let's just try it a bit different, okay? Let's just try it a bit different. So let's just go to different elements. Let's go to fire. So fire, let's just say he's going to be our tank. We're gonna have him in here. We're gonna have Dane in here for more damage. And then we need to have some sort of immunity, something, you know, and that's where we're going to Necrosis. This is the pairing for this season, and we're gonna bring in Megan. If we bring Tia in, we're gonna have block debuffs on all of our team except the tank, and that will be a problem. And if you don't have resistance on the tank, which can be done, you can run resistance on your tank, and then you don't have to worry about the debuffs on the tank, and you just use block debuffs on the rest. So you can say it will work. It will work. The timing needs to be impeccable to make sure your immunity will be added on before the boss is using the skills, and you'll be more than fine. And you have damage reduction from her passive as well, you know, when you have invisibility on the other champions. She can deal a bit of damage too. Megan heals, and then you have Dane to deal more damage. So this could potentially be a pretty good team for this boss, you know. Then moving over to our final dungeon, guys, our final destination, and that will be, of course, the Ancient Battlefield. And this, I feel like it changed a bit more than the others. I feel like it could potentially be the hardest out of all of the dungeons, and I think, honestly, it was the hardest out of all of the dungeons before as well. So let's just hop in here and see what changed in terms of skills. So we have 1, 2, and 3 skills. I think we gained a skill on this boss. He still looks amazing. He still has the shield. He still has the sword. And we have exactly an extra skill added to the boss. And the extra skill will be this one right here. So the initial skill changed, okay? Shield deals necrotic damage to the furthest enemy and inflicts stun for 5 seconds. That was the same before. But now, if this debuff fails, or is not inflicted, or is dispelled during its duration, the shield warrior is inflicted with necrotic damage and enters backfire. And it seems like before it was the same, but it changed something else on it. Because now, when he has the sword, deals necrotic damage to the enemy with the highest attack. And he used to do that before too, but now this damage ignores defense and shield. So it's gonna be harder for us to keep our champion with the highest attack alive. We need to have a shield anyway to help us with the other AoE damage from the boss, you know. And I guess you're gonna have to tank your damage dealer more, give him more HP, give him more defense as well. The more defense, the better, because he's not ignoring all the defense, you know. Then this skill is unfortunately not translated properly on the server as expected. We will have some bugs, but it seems very, very similar. I don't really think that it changed, guys. Pretty much follows the same order, so I think it's the same. But then we have this one right here, which I would expect it to be pretty much the same by the looks of it. Yeah, nothing changed with this one either. And then we have the new skill. Reduces the ultimate down inflicted on the boss by 50%. Additionally, the boss gains 75% damage reduction for 15 seconds for every 25% of the HP lost. The effect can be stacked. So wow, he will be getting a lot of damage reduction. But this is a buff by the looks of it, and this can be blocked by using block buffs. I'm not sure. This is only a theory, okay? We might be able to block it, or we might not be able to block it, you know? Still not very, very convinced about the whole thing with that, you know. But for example, we can use a completely different team here. Let's show some love to the other elements as well, because Skratch, you've been showing us the same champions over and over and over again, more or less. Now, Gerdress can be nice with recharge speed penalty, have the attack penalty on too. So let's put him in. I actually like this epic. Vorash is gonna put block buffs if our theory will be viable. And anyway, you need to stop the boss to get all the nasty things on him, you know. So Vorash is gonna be spot on in there as well. And then should we bring any other frost heroes in here? The problem is we don't really have many healers, which is good. Thanks God we are paired with Radiance this season, and my God, we are almighty with the Radiance. We have the best tank to get the job done in here, and of course we can look at bringing in different champions. The damage dealers, they don't need to be melee or AoE, so we can bring in Hegio. Let's just say we're going with Hegio, and let's just say we are going with him, and the team is complete. Now the only problem is that we might still need some sort of buffs, you know. If we're bringing in Catherine, she's gonna give us defense down on one of defense up on one of the champions. That will be very helpful, but it might not be enough. Maybe Quarian will be even better with defense up on all of the team, but it's the smaller version, you know. So I feel like a team like this could get the job done. Having a shield in here will be massive too, 100%, you know. Being able to use somebody with a shield, but that would involve some of the legendary champions, and let's just keep them away. I'm positive that a team like this will get the job done, guys. Maybe we will want to bring in a different damage dealer that might land another attack down, just in case if this Gerdress with a battle skill won't be able to keep that decreased attack consistently enough, and we cannot really time it to have it on before the boss is using the ultimate. So we might have to look for a different damage dealer that will bring decreased attack. I kind of like want to keep Gyarius in as a tank, you know. It's just kind of like a no-brainer to have him in there. So probably we're gonna have to look in for a different champion to get that job done, you know. But this is pretty much everything in terms of new bosses and dungeons, guys. How I mentioned, as soon as this content drops on the actual server, I'll be dropping guides on them, not just theory crafting teams and showing you the skills. We will have a new boss for the Feymender as well, which will do different things, but unfortunately, it's not unlocked right here at the moment to go over the skills. I'll try to see if I can actually grind the stages to go to the boss and check it out. We will have a whole new dungeon for the poems, for the pages, which will be this one right here. And honestly, I did not check the skills for this boss. So let's quickly do it together. So it's called the Battle of the Two Towers. And this looks like a nice boss. I think I've seen some art with this boss. Let's check it out. Ooh. Yeah, I've seen art with this too. Mithrasi. She's one of my most wanted legendary champions, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. What I'm gonna do to get her. Oh, damn. You're actually fighting Mithrasi being taken over by some octopussy here, you know? Something like that. Let's see the skills. Ooh, you have quite a bit Chaos Surf, which is the Mithrasi sort of vibe. Then you have the minions that attack and knock up. Attack penalty, attack penalty. So two sides do attack penalty to knock up. What does she do? She's immune to control and ultimate down. Basic attack has a 50% chance of triggering Abyssal Touch. Okay. Then we have summons an Abyssal Touch at a random empty location. And heals allies within range with a chance of granting them attack up 3 and attack speed up 3. Wow, 100% and 30%? Can we get some buffs like this as well, please? Jesus. Then you have, of course, the main boss. And this one is immune to control and ultimate down as well. Deals necrotic damage to enemies within range, inflicting recharge speed penalty. So you either want to have immunity, either cleansers. Then swings tentacles, dealing physical damage to all enemies 4 times. And deals necrotic damage and inflicts charmed on enemies with less than 50% HP for 4 seconds. Charmed is forcing your allies to target each other. And this skill Gains max HP shield and uses tentacles to entangle a single enemy for the duration of the shield, inflicting fear and dealing necrotic damage over time. If the shield is not broken in 10 seconds, deals necrotic damage to all enemies and inflicts stun on them for 5 seconds. If the shield is broken, gains weakened for 10 seconds. Weakened takes 20% more damage. Okay, so this is an interesting boss too. I feel like you will need some champions that have control immunity or they remove the control debuffs from you. But definitely looking forward to try this one out. It's a brand new boss and it looks pretty interesting. Plus, of course, the Copper Dragon, the Resurgent Dragon, will be a completely new boss. The Vortex, from what I heard, is still the same. I don't know if the skills changed. Let's actually quickly check that because we do have access to it as well. Sorry guys, the video might be a bit longer than intended. Honestly, it is longer than intended because I thought that we won't actually go over all this, you know. I cannot go to check this one directly by the looks of it. No. But if nothing changed on the first difficulty, the second will probably just land a different debuff on you. Right now, it lands defense down. Maybe on this new version, it will drop something else next to the defense down. Who knows? Maybe decrease accuracy, maybe recharge speed penalty. But I think something is new here. Deals lightning damage to all enemies. Deals lightning damage to the enemy with the highest max HP. Deals lightning damage to all enemies. And deals lightning damage to all enemies and gains stackable total damage permanently based. Is the same. And yeah, it's the same. Nothing changed here so far. So maybe on difficulty 4 something changed in terms of what debuffs he lands on your team. That was all for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what do you think of the new skills, the new upgraded bosses. Are you excited to try new strategies? What are your teams that you kind of like already have in mind, you know? Appreciate every single one of you, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.